What's good with the people? What is good with the people? I am Damo the political plug here on this Memorial Day. Now it's
Hey,
somebody that is joining me. Oh, there they are.
I'm here. Hello. What's good, everybody? I
There
forgot to
they
grab
are.
my headphones. So we're gonna make it work regardless. I realized that at the
do
worst
you do you
possible
hear
moment.
a do you hear a echo or anything? Or you straight?
I'm good. So I think we might be all right for now, but we'll see how it rolls. What's up, y'all? I'm not missing. I'm here. It's the chop up show. I wouldn't miss it for the world. And so glad to be with y'all on Memorial Day, man. The plug brought you in. I'm here to just kind of hold it down with the family, but hopefully y'all are enjoying this day off. If you don't got the day off, hopefully y'all enjoying this off to the side while you doing what you do at the gig, while you focus on what you got to focus on. But we couldn't stay away too long. We just could not stay away too long. You know, Thursday, Friday, Saturday passed, Sunday passed, and so we said we going to go ahead and be a part of your holiday, which
Yeah,
is why we're here today.
yeah. So Miss Ma'am in the building. Hey, Miss Ma'am. So what we haven't done in a while,
Yeah,
as we chill and enjoy our barbecue and all of that. Actually, before I get into that, I've heard, I feel like we got called out. It was a certain comedian. Shout out to G King Comedy, uh, hilarious dude. Found him on Instagram, all of that. He made a post said that like our generation sucks
oh yeah.
because he hadn't heard anything about anybody getting on the grill. You know what I'm
Listen,
saying? We not getting out there like our predecessors. You know what I'm saying? So for everybody out there that is holding it down, that's getting it in with the barbecue, telling the kids that they can eat the hot dogs and the chicken, they can't have none of the ribs because y'all gonna waste it. All of that. You
yeah,
feel
all
me?
of that. And to
uh,
the ones, because it was a whole debate about this. So, and to the ones who get their kids the ribs and the crab legs and all the good stuff, shout out to y'all too.
Shout out to y'all
We
too. Shout out to y'all
give your
too.
kids what you want to give your kids. Just close
Right.
them early. It's fine.
Spoil them.
No big deal.
Spoil them.
Please,
Spoil them.
please,
But
please.
uh, but anyway, it's time that we do something we haven't done in a while, and that's do like just get into a straight political chop. We are getting closer to the 2024 election between
Yeah.
Joe Biden and Donald Trump, and I have to admit, y'all, I have had a change of heart as it pertains to certain things in this election.
Hmm.
Uh,
My goodness.
now,
A
y'all
change of
know
heart.
that Toya and I have we had very interesting back
We
and
have
forths,
vehement disagreements, if you will.
vehement
Vehement. Uh
vehement
huh.
disagreements
Hmm.
about uh really any type of support for Joe Biden, even if it is like a vote against Donald Trump for Joe Biden. It was just like nah, like that, like Toya stood fast that it was like that's not what it is. Like even against Donald Trump, I can't support Joe Biden. My
It's rough.
pushback was the reasons why like people are saying that, whether it's the genocide, whether it's racism, whether it's any of those things.
The
What we
economy.
like, right? Well, we couldn't just say the economy. He was cooking with the economy.
I know, and that's where no, he wasn't. Like on paper, he was cooking in the economy and the experiential lives of people in grocery stores and at gas pumps
Right, right, right,
and
right, right.
paying rent bills.
Inflation was
No,
stupid. Inflation was stupid.
hello,
Yeah, niggas.
hello.
Inflation. Right. Yeah, niggas was mad about inflation. You right. But I always felt like those things were status quo issues. That if you even gonna talk about voting and get into the political conversation, that like if that's gonna stop you from getting into that dialogue, ain't even no point in talking about it. Because it is the reality of the American empire to facilitate genocide, to facilitate anti-blackness. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? To keep poor people poor. This is the reality of the American empire. You know
It's
what I
what it
mean?
does.
So for me, I felt like there were certain progressive leaning aspects of Joe Biden that made it possible for people to make the decision, especially with how bad Trump was. Because
Mm.
we had Trump presidency. We know what we got with him, right? I no longer feel that way about Joe Biden. And for me,
Exactly.
my threshold, my threshold is the campus protest. Because I think at a bare minimum, right? If you are a progressive leaning If you were selling yourself as a progressive Democrat, which when Joe Biden talks about the black people that he been put in the courts and everything else, that's what he's wanting to be understood and seen as. He wants to be seen as a part of the progressives.
Mm-hmm.
When you get your ass up there and say and call and characterize these campus protests as violent,
Mm-hmm.
encampments as violent, bro, like you're showing me that like this is your moderate conservative side coming out. Like this was the straw that broke the camel's back. At a bare minimum, with the type of conversation that we hear about shit like First Amendment rights and first, you know what I'm saying, like people being able to kind of speak out and be be able to speak their speech and speak truth to power without condemnation, without being harassed by the damn police. The Biden administration campaigned on not sicking the police on your grandma or some shit like that. That's what they campaigned on. And y'all literally gonna get up here and have no problem with police running up on college campuses as if it was a riot?
Come on now.
And you not gonna stand with the protesters? I mean, from a campaign standpoint, at least you ain't gonna give the lip service during an election season. You giving niggas the real moderate Joe, the moderate right-leaning Joe, 6 months before an election?
Yeah. I mean, I think, he has to be careful though, because, and this is not a defense, this is just kind of a thinking through of the strategy there, or the logic of why you would do something so damning to your own campaign. And it's like, I really feel like he has to be on some back the blue type shit. He has to support law enforcement. He has to support law and order, and he has to support and this is outside of the paralances of anti-Semitism and what it will seem like if he allows for or speaks about these protests as though they are just these neutral opportunities for people to speak and voice their opinions. They are. But if he talks about that, then he's cozying up to anti-Semitism, which means he pisses off that entire group of people. And then secondarily, he pisses off the police department and the police departments across these different campuses and different cities that are having to go in and be at and I'm air quoted, front lines of a lot of these protests and kind of navigate and deal with the encampments and stuff like that. So then you run the risk then of, it's a lot of, you got to decide who you're going to piss off. And I think he's just made the decision that the easier audience and the easier group of people to let down are the people who are already upset and, angry and pissed off. We'll just go ahead and add something to that. But he can't afford to make no new enemies.
But I feel like those sectors ain't even the sectors that's voting for his ass. He's not winning amongst them demographics. The back the blue demographic is
exactly.
Trump.
But he's not winning again. He's not winning with those demographics, but he's not winning with his own. So what you don't want to do is alienate people who could be open to the possibility, because you're not winning the protesters. You're not winning a lot. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, to me, it's a very strategic game. And then, of course, there are, Jewish folk from all different backgrounds and perspectives and, political orientation. So you do have those people who are on their last straw. And if they see Joe Biden even attempt to act like he's about to be anti-Semitic, that's going to be, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I think
not even be anti-Semitic, just not be gung-ho pro-Israel.
Exactly.
You know what I'm
saying? They be waiting for any shift away from that stance to that relationship on a domestic or in an international context is going to be reason enough for them. Just like you said, this was a last straw. It's a last straw for them too, just in a different way.
And so we have his stance on the protests. We already know what's happening with in Palestine and the genocide, the attack on Rafah that's currently taking place. You have the International Court of Justice, the people that's like looking at the world and being like, let's hold leaders accountable, or standing up and being like, hey, Israel, that shit ain't cool. Like how y'all moving? Somebody got to pay for that. And if Benjamin Netanyahu step anywhere in a few different places, international police is on his ass.
It's up.
Okay? That's what the world is saying. And the United fucking States under a Democratic president is standing against the court that was created to hold corrupt dictators and dangerous leaders accountable. And the United States is standing against it on the world stage in 2024. That's not happening under Donald Trump. It's happening under Joe Biden. Like, so what we're seeing is really an abandonment of progressive principles from the current president going into an election season asking for progressives to vote for them. You feel me? I want us to take a look at, like, one, Joe Biden's popularity in the first place. Because today's conversation is, how the fuck did we get here? Really? Mm-hmm. Like, we're dealing with two of the most unpopular candidates ever. Nobody likes neither one of these niggas. So how did this happen? Right? It was no surprise that nobody liked Joe Biden. Let's take a look at we can take a look at his approval numbers. This nigga, like, if you look at the graph, you'll see here that 38.4% as of May 24, 56.2% disapprove as of May 24th.
Correct.
Nobody, they didn't like. I mean, you can go back even further. If we go back June 22, it was only 53%. Like, he didn't have. Joe Biden was only popular in the first year of his term. By what are we looking at? By September 12th. Yeah, by September 12th, his disapproval rate was at 48. September 12, 2021, his disapproval rate was already at 48.7%. So we kind of already knew. It's like,
I think by then, of course, his first 100 days had passed, and then he had passed the Inflation Reduction Act, but that didn't reduce no inflation for people. I think that was when he had got that big kind of dunk where we will be honest about diabetes medications, because I feel like that deal was kind of in that package where he got the cost of that to go down. But the rest of that were, directed toward innovations in green tech, different other kind of budgetary writings, and some things that didn't have direct implications on the people. And so people was like, oh, nigga. And then this is also where financial aid was looking less and less likely to be forgiven and stuff like that. Right. So people was just kind of looking like, you play, and you got me, but you play all day, and people went with it. I do real quick want to shout out the folks in here with us on this Memorial Day. Shout out to Donnell, shout out to Black Man, a whole bunch of letters. I don't know what the rest of that is, but we got we got love for you from the bottom of my heart for tapping in. Avenge the Ancestors said what's up, and then Miss Ma'am from the very start has been in the building. So what's good with y'all? But you know what I'm saying? Like, I think we've seen and experienced, one, the lack of direction in terms of kind of a clear response to the post-Trump era and what people needed and wanted out of the person who was supposed to be leading them and guiding them. I think people were like, all right, cool, we got you. But we really got you so that we can get Kamala. So let's see what she do. And I don't think there was a good kind of setup for any hope or faith for the direction of the party vis-a-vis her. And then also no other secondary or tertiary candidates that seem to also being prepared to take the torch to then move the party in the right direction. So then we start to see it being very clear that he's about to be the next candidate coming up. And so then it's like, well, what promises are you going to make good on? Well, then, I mean, circle back to where you started the conversation not too long ago. You got the economy all over the place. You got wars breaking out. You got Ukraine, and you got what's going on, Palestine. What happened on October 7th. So now it's just like a whole lot of back and forth. Then you got whatever, the United States and China have kind of fallen into a neutral position before a long time. You know what I'm saying? That was a big kind of cornerstone, is getting that relationship back on track with Biden. It's just like a lot of different things, both internationally and domestically, that just, can't be ignored. And then, I mean, let us not forget, in the 11th hour, you started trying to get rid of TikTok. Like, so the young people who you really had to depend on to lift you up from where you fell and push you over and see the future and what you was talking about, completely lost faith in you. And I mean, I hope you're ready to charge that shit to the game.
No, it's like, even as we get into this, who the fuck is running it? This can't, like, at this point, from a campaign perspective, you can't tell me Biden wants these people to vote for him. Like, I think they've like, Democrats have abandoned the young vote. They've abandoned the Muslim vote. You feel me? They're wholly relying on undecided, you know what I'm saying, middle of the road voters.
They don't got the immigrant vote. I don't know who got their votes. I don't
That's
think
what,
nobody
like,
got the
who are
immigrant
they
vote.
expecting to vote for Joe Biden? Like, that's really what I'm trying to figure out with how you move, with that, like, literally how they moving. Like,
Yeah.
you are going some, like, and I want y'all to see. I'm gonna show y'all the first example of what Joe Biden said about protests initially, and why all of it is literally just another example of moderate bullshit. And the reason why, like, when Dr. King talk about the moderate, when Malcolm X talk about the moderate, like, this is exactly what they mean. This is how they are the problem. Joe Biden will brag about the benefit of him putting all these black people in the courts, and then turn around and apply this type of cookie cutter shit to real serious conversations that you would expect a liberal leaning, progressive
And he
leaning
do it in neck
candidate to
breaking
go on.
speed. He knew it at neck breaking speed too, by the way. Like whatever you about to play is gonna demonstrate this beautifully, but the rate by which he's able to flip flop and switch it up is really something to be beholden. We recently saw him do that at a Morehouse graduation where I think he was the speaker at Morehouse, and a lot of people was pissed off about that. But the valedictorian demanded a ceasefire. He get up there and talking about we're doing everything we can to do this and eliminate that and da 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 whatever. The very next day he was like, Israel has the right to defend itself. We fully support them in everything that they're doing and this. And it was just like, bruh, it's like your head can spin.
Like, my nigga, what are you standing on?
Listen,
right? Like, you either standing on that we want to stop stop the violence and stop the things that we're seeing currently taking place, or fuck it, we gotta stand with Israel, because this is a terrible example of trying to play both sides. But check this out. I want y'all to first listen to this response in terms of protest. Let's get it.
Violent protest is not protected. Peaceful protest is. It's against the law when violence occurs. Destroying property is not a peaceful protest. It's against the law. Vandalism, trespassing, breaking windows, shutting down campuses, forcing the cancellation of...
Now, I want to point this out. We're talking about people protesting genocide, and you have more anger over supposed vandalism, because, again, this is spin. These people are camping out. They're not, I mean, shit, this ain't even like Black Lives Matter levels of, you know what I'm saying, we fucking shit up. This is literally people camping out on campuses. You feel me? And to be removed, they're sending the police as if they causing shit like riots. So off break, the spin is already bullshit. But let's continue.
Classes and graduations. None of this is a peaceful protest. But let's be clear about this as well. There should be no place on any campus, no place in America for anti-Semitism or threats of violence against Jewish students. There is no place for hate speech or violence of any kind, whether it's anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, or discrimination against Arab Americans or Palestinian Americans. It's simply wrong. There's no place for racism in America. It's all wrong. It's un-American.
Okay, so we hear him talking out the side of his neck, right? About this, it's no room for hate speech. The only people that's doing the harassing is the pro-Israel folk. I should have pulled up the video with a white woman, the white Jewish woman walked into one of the encampments and just started looking around, like hoping somebody would say something, and they ignored her ass.
And they ignored the shit out of her. I seen a couple of videos like that.
So we already, it's like, all right, ain't nobody checking for y'all. But let me ask, y'all tell me if this sound familiar. Let me know if this sound familiar.
RE Radio, what's good? What's good? Thank you for rocking with us.
Why y'all ain't, make sure y'all hit the like button.
Make sure y'all,
you know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all subscribe to the joint. Let's get this up. All right, y'all let me know if this sounds familiar.
Let that be his legacy. a legacy of peace, not violence, of justice. Peaceful expression of that legacy are inevitable and appropriate, but violent protest is not. And there are those who will seek to exploit the raw emotions of the moment, agitators and extremists who have no interest in social justice, who seek to carry out violence, destroy property, fan the flames of hate and division, who do everything in their power to stop this country's march toward racial justice. We can't let them succeed. This is a time for this country to come together, to unite as Americans. There can never be any safe harbor for hate in America.
Now, this is Joe Biden talking about the George Floyd protests.
Mm-hmm.
And again, another example of a straw man argument being made. So the same way there's like all this violence that's taking place, this doesn't reflect peaceful protests. There's no violence taking place. The only violent people are the police.
Yeah.
Same way at George Floyd protests, there's again, now rioting, all that shit that took place.
What, like where at the Georgia?
Nah, I'm saying like there was some rioting and shit that took place. Like niggas,
yeah,
shit got ran up into.
It was some looting. It was some shit going down.
But the idea that there is a concerted effort by people out there to be against racial, like the racial march or the march to racial justice, like get the fuck out of here, Joe Biden.
Right.
Like get the fuck out of here. Like you have not evolved. I mean, of course you're an 80-something-year-old man, but your progressivism has started to detach itself from you over time.
Yeah.
You at least had the ability to bring up the fact that it was riots and shit happening. Now you can't even say that shit and you still using the same rhetoric in the same conversation.
I mean, because you got to stick to the playbook. And I think it speaks a lot to the president that he has to be versus, or has had to be as opposed to the president he wants to be. The president he has had to be one who entertains the, you know what I'm saying, anger and frustration of these marginalized people down to them wanting their voices to be heard in the middle of the street. But he's not with that shit. He's as much a law and order president as, Donald Trump was. And so when we talk about, for example, a lot of people were willing to forget and forgive, or forgive and forget rather, about, the whole drug conviction thing and a lot of the suggestions he was making and a lot of ways that he wanted those crimes to be kind of propagated in 3-strike laws and all of the kind of racialization of those laws. A lot of people were willing to be like, well, I mean, hey, it was the times, and well, people change and he's grown a lot, and Barack Obama and da-da-da-da-da. But this is the reason why Barack Obama was Barack Obama, and that's a separate conversation, but why Joe Biden was always his own person, a whole different office, a whole different approach and orientation. You just get the opportunity to be somebody's right man and be the runner-up. You know what I'm saying? So like, when someone shows you who they really are. Yeah. What did she say? What she say?
Believe them the first time.
When?
The first time. Believe them
the plug is spoken, right? Maya Angelou has spoken. Joe Biden has spoken. And so we have had to be selective about when we hear him and how serious we are listening and stuff like that. But he's been showed the hand. And so we are acting surprised because we want more and we want better. But just like you don't change. You've been the same at 30-something, at 20-something, at something teens.
Right. It's a lot of similarities in my old self and my new self.
It's in there.
But I just think that like this is where we get to the question of like, with this much understanding of how much of a failure Joe Biden is as a progressive politician, as a progressive candidate, as a progressive president, the question then becomes, when we're looking at a new election, this nigga been unpopular his whole presidency. Who holds responsibility for like this nigga being the candidate? Like who should we be looking at and really asking and really posing the question, really sticking it to him? Why is Joe Biden our candidate? Because for a long time, we knew people did not fuck with this nigga. For a long time. So, do you believe that liberal voters or liberal-leaning voters, progressive voters, hold the responsibility for Biden's attempt at a second term?
No, I do not.
Who would you put the blame on? Then?
The Democratic Party.
Why is that?
Terrible, terrible people.
Why is that?
The establishment Democrats are giving establishment candidates. When it all comes down to it, you can talk about who, voters jump behind and, preliminary exercises and attempts to, get the pulse on who's interested in what and this, that, and the other. But when it's all said and done, they are the ones who determine who gets put before us. I remember being utterly bewildered seeing the 20 plus interested Republican candidates that were in the field and seeing no one challenging Joe Biden. And those were decisions that were made in 2021, probably. You know what I'm saying? Like 20, like just disgustingly a long time ago. No attempt, no effort. I can't honestly say, and you might try to please correct me if you're wrong. I'm not gonna say you might try to correct me. Like I'm asking to be corrected if I'm wrong, but like, I don't know any other candidates who are even being held in that same conversation. The last time I heard about a Kamala run was before the presidential election in 2020, when it was like, this must be the strategic move, or this is why she's a great running mate, or the future of the party, this, and that. That was the last time I heard anything close to that. And she doesn't represent anything outside of moderate, being a moderate Democrat anyway. So it's not like she was the beacon for progressivism, even if that was the next play. So I was just like, okay, sure, the establishment Democratic agenda is at it again. But outside of that, I mean, like Cornel West boss hogged his way into the conversation and did what he was going to do. But besides that, can you like confirm or deny? Or have there been anybody else of interest who was ever on the slate to run for president?
Nah.
By design, by committee and by design. And so here we are, and having to take what they give us. And by us, I don't mean Democrats, because myself nor the political plug or Democrats don't identify that way. But as people who vote in the direction of their interest, the party who tends to represent
we vote left leaning. That's the
have nothing to offer, right? As political strategists, we understand, or strategists rather, we understand that it is, if we are to validate voting as an exercise, kind of pointless to put that in the direction of an independent. Right. And so in picking between the two devils we've been, kind of exposed to, the one that we choose ain't got nothing for us, which is, I mean, under surprising, but just really disappointing even for them.
And I like that answer. I like that answer. It's honest. But I also think that's why I hold liberal voters accountable. Mine is twofold. Like I hold liberal voters accountable and I hold Kamala Harris accountable.
Damn.
Yeah.
What's he do? I'm gonna talk to her.
So the reason why I hold liberal voters accountable is because even the same Democrats that you're talking about that made it possible to kind of structure shit this way, it's like what are we actually demanding on them? Because like what's happened is the far left wing of the party has been silenced. That like there's no debate there. Like as popular as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ayanna Pressley, Ilhan Omar, as popular as they are, and as
Cory
much as
Bush.
people,
We gotta shout out them.
Cory Bush,
Yeah.
Cory Bush, yeah. As popular as they are, and as popular as their platforms are, the Democratic Party does not position them at all in any type of light to say that this is what they leaning towards or this is what they fucking with. And we know that they've been doing that for a while because going back to 2019 and 2018 when Ilhan Omar was censored by Congress just because she spoke out against the Israel lobby, AIPAC. You see what I'm saying? So it's like they're only able to get away with that type of shit if we still allow them to occupy that spot. Because at the end of the day, them being in power is one thing, but we have a way to get them out that motherfucker. There's an avenue. Now, listen, I'm not some.
But here's the thing. I feel like, what's the avenue? Because I feel like the thing that makes me, yes, but the thing that makes me the most resentful is like, I hate that in order to show you like Republicans got to win or like conservative politics got to win, because it's not even that they lose or that they lose their power, they lose their positions. It's that other people with other bullshit and other agendas get to run amok and create other bullshit for the lived material reality of myself and so many others in between these people learning a lesson about how to really run a party. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I hate it. I hate it. Shit is whack as fuck.
I think though, like what we know about liberal voters is like, for example, they're like more liberal voters are college educated. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they're like we come to the electorate with enough knowledge to understand that, like, one, it's easy for Republicans to do what they do because they're catering to a let me not be disrespectful. let me be fair. But I would say that they're catering to the low hanging fruit.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? Like, Republicans give Republican voters scraps, and then they give corporations and everybody else all work with them to give them all the benefits. Republicans don't get shit out of being Republicans, especially economically. You just have somebody in the political space that's willing to say, you know, people who get abortions should go to hell type shit. So it's like we shouldn't even look at, like, we should look at Republican voters like, just like that book. What's the problem with Kansas? Like, we recognize that y'all are voting against a lot of y'all own interests just because they get up there telling you that they a Christian. So, yeah, like, that's where Republicans have a cheat code. Where liberal voters, progressive voters, we should be the ones that's like, nah, like, well, one, we already recognize that what y'all give us ain't shit compared to what it is that we stand on and we care about. But then at the same time, we have to then be the ones to be like, all right, cool, I'm willing to do more work. I'm willing to go out there and vote. You know what I'm saying? I'm willing to go out there and canvass and support and get that support up for another candidate. And that's why I think that's where we lack at, that secondary part of it. But then I also think that where Kamala fucked up is she couldn't be what the people with the Democratic Party needed her to be in order to take the reins. I think Joe Biden is a plan B, if I'm being honest. Like, Joe Biden is what you get when people recognize that Kamala
ain't got it all.
Like, don't have it there.
Like, their version of a complete package is she's lacking in some areas. I don't know what they are, but for whatever reason, she's not cutting the mustard in terms of the vision they see for the direction of things. Yeah, I can see that.
Shout out to my boy Blue in the chat.
Shout out to Blue.
Toya, my next question. Does voter apathy contribute to the growing disconnect between political leaders and voters? Is it the apathy that we harbor as voters that's adding to this disconnect we talking about?
No, I think the disconnect creates apathy and it becomes a tautology, right? It becomes a very circular kind of process where you have disconnect, which then creates apathy. You have apathy, which then creates disconnect. So you have a Donald Trump presidency, and you see an increase, an escalation of people willing to vote after that because they are not apathetic, because there's a reason. They've been enticed, right? They've been, what is the reason? Incentivized to show up. There are things to be lost. There are things to be gained. There, you know what I'm saying? And before that election cycle, you saw conservative folks show up in droves because they were enticed. They were incentivized. There were things to be gained. And so they shook off that apathy. But then what happened after a Donald Trump term, right? After a Barack Obama term, like, you see the end of these kind of eras happening. You see the decrease in desire, and then you see the fall off. You see the apathy. You see the pissed offness. You see so it's just like, it's kind of circular. I think I went to the left and to the right. Let's go back center, right? Yeah. You have a world where candidates and the parties are disconnected from the people and their needs. You have then at every layer and every level of the government that disconnect. Senators and Congress people are not representing the needs. Representatives and Congress people are not representing the needs of the people. And so you have a lot of this gridlock and a lot of this stalemate and a lot of this shit happening. Then you look up and Justice Alito is putting flags upside down and supporting January 6th shit and being all weird. And then Justice Clarence Thomas is over here taking money and seemingly bribes and payments.
While his wife is trying to work with the White House to stop the...
So you see that level of compromise. So you see apathy, right? So there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
And so then it's time when it's time to vote. I'm not voting for this sham. I'm not voting for y'all to be on bullshit. I'm not voting for you to talk about somebody lady eyelashes. And as much as I love big butch blonde body, Brian, whatever she said, shout out to Jasmine Crockett. I'm not paying for that either. I'm not voting for that either. You know what I'm saying? Like this is just all too damn much. You know what I'm saying? And so people get apathetic, and then you got to find dire situations and dire straits to pump them up. And we thought Trump was a dire situation and a dire strait, but that card don't even work no more. Now you got to find a new way to entice. Now you got to find a way to
and that's where you
incite.
struggle because you got to get them in there for you.
Yeah, you ran that Donald Trump is bad, and there's too many people who's like, we survived that bullshit. Same old same. He's crazy, you're crazy. He sucks, you suck. You can't scare me with that anymore. And so here we are.
We gonna talk about that though. And so like, yeah, I feel you. I think that you could blame apathy, but like you said, it's kind of like a what came first, a chicken or the egg type thing. Like that apathy only exists because of the disconnect. Because I'm not seeing myself reflected. Like if I'm a motherfucker that's just like, I don't like brown people, so just don't give them shit. I see myself in government. Cool.
Yeah.
You feel me? But if niggas is on the flip side and it's things that we actually want and demand and we want, like that's why we want to feel like at least when you having these conversations, my interest is involved. Then it's like how when that doesn't happen, how do you get anything else? Like how do you ask me to do anything else for you?
Facts. Real quick, my cousin's correcting me. I got to Miss Mam and Donnell got me together. Beach blonde, bad built, butch body.
Yeah, bleach blonde, bad built, butch body. Go to Jasmine
Donnell
website.
Said, come on, it was come on, it was beach blonde, bad built, butch body. I just can't get enough of the alliteration, and me neither. Right, as a linguist, as a word appreciator, as a communications scholar.
What's that? B6. So
Chef's kiss. B6.
Yes. And it was on the spot. Honey. It was on the spot. Like she hit it with the well, maybe your eyelashes can't. And she was like,
you can't see with the eyelashes. What?
Yeah. So shout out to Jasmine Crockett. We're gonna talk about her a little bit more soon too.
Yes.
So last question on this nigga. What one nigga we don't want for president? I definitely don't think he deserved to be president at all. Do you think there is any redeeming factor outside of Donald Trump? Do you think there's any redeeming factor of Joe Biden at all?
Joe Biden has consistently worked to get student loans dismissed. He has cleared a new, I think 5.6 billion or something. I am in that number. I literally have $51,000 plus of debt that no longer exists in my life, and that is great. Good for you, Joseph. Good for me, even. But I really had to sit back and think about that. Like, are you being ungrateful? No, because American education should have never been this expensive anyway. He made a promise and somebody kept it. Appreciate that. And when it's all said and done, I wasn't paying back that student loan money anyway because you're sending it everywhere. But
never gonna get it.
You know what I'm saying? I gave it. Me and God was like, forgiveness, release it. And then the government was like, forgiveness, release it. They were late. I'd already figured out my path forward.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm not.
The universe already had it together. You just confirming what I already knew.
And here's the thing: I wasn't finna pay them loans off principle because you finna send that money everywhere besides where I needed to go to appear in my real life anyway. So
going to Israel,
and
y'all want this student loan money,
and to the grocery store where individuals are making record profits, into the oil industry where they also making record profits, into No, I'm keeping my money because you don't know how to spend it and manage it. So I only say this to say those little blips of things, like I mentioned earlier, the diabetes medication, we had talked about kind of the investments in transportation infrastructure that are happening in a lot of unique and interesting ways. Like, it's cool. Yeah. But nothing that is just like, oh my gosh, let him back in there and let's see him run it back. And so that puts me in a very precarious position as a potential voter. A registered voter, let's just say that.
That's interesting because you got a dub out of
it. I mean, I did, and a pretty big one, a life-changing one. I never in my life thought about buying a house. I live in Southern California. I'm a renter, and I've always said I'm a renter for life. For the first time, I was like, but then the housing market is ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, so You know what I mean? Like, but there's a lot of decisions to think about. I will say I'm excited for if something ever happens to my vehicle that I can get back out there and participate a little bit more easier because I don't own a credit card. The only thing on my credit was my student loans and like a little dentist visit I went on
That's
about
crazy. You
five,
need to
six
get
years
your ass
ago
a
where I
credit
didn't.
card. You too damn old. Start building that credit.
Why? I don't play with fake money. I play with real money. My
My
quality of life is
nigga.
great.
My nigga.
My quality of life is just fine.
My
We're doing
nigga.
well. So
Uh,
I don't play with fake money and I don't want to spend the money and then I got to pay the money back. It just doesn't connect in my brain. So, and I get it. I points in this and earn this and slide it over there and do this, that, and the other. We'll get there one day. But for right now, I'm just enjoying this little component and not having to worry about that. So cool. Shout out to Joe Biden because it wouldn't have happened otherwise. But I don't know that I'm moved.
that is, hey, there we go. So, because I don't think there's any redeeming quality of Joe Biden. I think we gave Joe Biden a pass, making him the acceptable option. I think we gave him a pass, talking about Joe Biden was the normal we wanted to get back to, and if this is the normal that we wanted to get back to, then there's nothing redeemable about that shit
I'm good.
outside of the Donald Trump conversation. Like the only thing that makes him anywhere near the word acceptable, you know what I'm saying, or tolerated, if you will. I think tolerated would be a better term. Is that it's not this person that we about to talk about now.
Right.
So getting into that, Donald Trump on the other side of things, uh, what we're seeing literally is the poster boy for white privilege. Straight up. Donald Trump is showing us the perfect example of how white people get away with every fucking thing. Now, of course, I'm being facetious. Of course, I'm, you know what I'm saying, kind of being bombastic with it. White people get in trouble too. But in the sense when as black people, we've had to hear law and order conversations, especially we grew up in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? I'm an 80s baby. We grew up in the 90s. We grew up in the 2000s. It was always about if anything happened to a black person, especially as we got more to the Black Lives Matter era and everything else. Anything happened to black people, when it came to the police, your ass should have just listened to the police. Don't do the time, don't do the crime. Oh, y'all overly represented in the prison system. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. It ain't the
Yeah.
law, it's you. Get your shit together. That's always been the conversation with black people
Factual.
when it comes to these conversations of law and order, and what we've always known, because I'm not gonna say it as if it's a surprise or if we're saying something revolutionary. What we've always known is that when they talk law and order, when they have these conversations, they're talking about it from the perspective for black people. That's how the law works for you. It doesn't work like that for us. And the best example that we've seen, because like one thing we learned in debate is that the greatest examples to use are the crazy examples, because it allows you to kind of dissect and break down and see how it happens on a more smaller basis every day. With this hush money trial, that's exactly what we're seeing.
Yeah.
Um,
Agreed.
it's some things. First, I just want y'all to look at this this Politico article that I feel like kind of does a great job of breaking it down. I'm about to show some videos about how people are responding to Joe Biden, but what I want to express right now is how angry I think black people should be. Like watching Donald Trump go through the court system, like we should be infuriated. Because as much as we've been chastised, you know what I'm saying, for like our complaints about the system, I want y'all to listen to how the former president and the media that supports him talk about the court system and his experience. This is what Donald Trump says about what it is, him being persecuted. Let me get it pulled up for Toya. Let's talk about it. Shout out to everybody in the chat. If y'all ain't saying nothing, man, y'all go ahead and say what's up. I know these political conversations be like, damn, you know what I'm saying? But y'all opinion is always appreciated. What y'all think about the situation? Always appreciated. Where's it? There we go.
Meanwhile, well, shoot, before you press play, y'all make sure to pop around and be around for Juneteenth. Y'all know that's coming up real soon, so we're gonna have a special episode, real cool conversation, just kind of celebrate some beautiful things for Juneteenth. So stick around for the, excuse me, I got the hiccups for the people, but the clip is here.
All right, so this is how Donald Trump talks about him being quote unquote persecuted the same way black people persecuted.
Abraham Lincoln was just vilified. But now they say Trump got treated the worst of all.
Really?
Because what they did is they came up with phony stuff. Russia, Russia, Russia. It was all hoaxes.
Is this the most demented, malignant narcissist public figure of all time? They say that Trump was treated worse than Lincoln. Lincoln was shot in the head and killed. Trump was investigated for pretty obvious wrongdoing.
I think that's like that analogy right there, like, or not even analogy, just comparison. Just that comparison. Lincoln was shot in the head and killed, and Donald Trump is treated worse. Listen to Fox News. I want y'all to hear how Fox News talks about what Donald Trump is going through. And this dude, Jesse Waters, I'm telling you, he's like, I don't know who is managing the talent at Fox. But yo, if this is the best y'all can do, if Jesse Waters is supposed to be like the front man, the new Tucker Carlson, the new what was his name, Bill O'Reilly, y'all done fell off. Y'all didn't definitely fell off. Niggas at least watch Bill O'Reilly. There's no reason. Listen to this whiny ass clown talk about what Donald Trump got to go through sitting in court. Just sitting in court.
But the guy needs exercise. He's usually golfing. And so you're going to put a man who's almost 80 sitting in a room like this on his butt for all that time? It's not healthy. You know how big of a health nut I am. He needs sunlight and he needs activity. He needs to be walking around. He needs action. It's really cruel and unusual punishment to make a man do that. And anytime he moves, they threaten to throw him in prison.
Cruel and unusual punishment.
Yeah.
Toya, that nigga said that because he gotta sit in the courtroom, not him being in a cell, not him even being in handcuffs or house arrest, because he has to sit in the courtroom and can't threaten the judge's family and can't threaten or intimidate the jury or can't threaten and intimidate witnesses. They're trying to convince you that this man is being persecuted.
I don't think anybody believe. I say that, and then I think about his voting base and other conservatives and people who are willing to. I don't know. I don't. Yeah, Fox News, everybody.
And it's the same platform.
What they do.
Because remember, this is the same platform that is always telling black people that watch black people lay on the ground, blood leaving their body, and say, well, you should have listened to the police officer. You should have backed the blue.
Absolutely.
You should have followed orders. You should have listened. You scared them. But it's cruel and unusual. We should be angry. Like, it's like we know that what they saying is bullshit. But I feel like we too desensitized to this type of shit. Absolutely. And that's why it becomes like legitimate conversations on a major national news channel in a primetime spot, them whining about this nigga having to sit in court. So my question to you, Toya, is after the overturning of Roe v. Wade, after the overturning of affirmative action, do we still, when we're talking about the threat and danger of Donald Trump, this criminal that breaks the law and literally has entire media platforms and entire government sector out trying to protect him? If we talk about voting for Joe Biden so we don't have a Donald Trump, is that still fear-mongering, or is it literally just strategy?
It's just strategy. One thing Donald Trump know how to do is move that needle. I don't get it. I don't understand. It perplexes the mind. I just don't understand what his appeal is to people, to intelligent people, to coherent people, to people with children and futures. Like it doesn't register to me. And I'm, white people, I don't care what it is. Rich, poor, I don't get it. That being said, like, I think it is completely strategic because he is able to resonate with enough. And here's the thing, he has enough. And I've said this since the beginning when we was going back and forth about who was going to win and why, is that he has enough people who are willing to show up for him. And Joe Biden doesn't, right? He has enough people who are just committed, invested. Trump 2024 don't matter. Don't even watch the news. Don't care what's going on. So you can't even get me with the did you hear about this? Because it's irrelevant to me. I know how I'm voting. Joe Biden doesn't have that. And he's turned off people who were potentially willing to show up for him still. And so where he has a waning voting population, Trump has just enough people who are willing to strategically play this game to get the things that they want. They don't love him, but they love the things he can do. They love that he's going to hold the line on immigration. Right. They love the fact that he's going to hold the line on abortion. They love the fact that he is against CRT and against woke and against whatever version of blackness and, you know what I'm saying, cultural sensitivity or meaningful cultural relationships that we come up with, whatever language they want to attack, whether it's woke, whether it's CRT, whether it's
pronouns, like
you know what I'm saying? Like, pick a thing. They like, as long as somebody's moving that needle, they willing to show up. And so, yeah, like, it's strategic. You know what I'm saying? And it's 1000%. It's not appeal. It's just the mindset. They know how to play the game, and he know how to play the game. I don't know if you have that clip queued up. I forget if you said it was up or not about what he's doing with the Supreme Court, but you gotta, when you think about how he's saying it out loud, you know what I'm saying? He's saying the quiet parts out loud. He's saying the parts we've been worried about out loud as a part of his strategy. So, like, eventually we'll get to that clip, but he already told us what he's trying to do with the Supreme Court. So, like, yeah, he knows what's up, and so you should be afraid of him, regardless of how you feel.
Yeah, we definitely passed the idea of being like voting against Donald Trump is like the vote shaming. We are way past vote shaming because I think we all recognize how shitty Joe Biden is. But then we also recognize that the lives of women have been impacted heavily. I mean, you have women in Texas that they trying to persecute. Like, they really trying to lock them up. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? For things that they having to do with their bodies. And so we like, when we able to see like this kind of shift and this type of impact, then it's bigger than just like whether or not you being vote shamed. It's like, because we got another video to play on that too. But I want y'all to hear how Donald Trump talks about, like, you know, first, what happens when he gets back in office, like what's important to him. Let's get it.
Then I called up my people and I said, I have a guy from New York who's an incredible lawyer. He's got the right temperament. He'd be a really great judge. Oh, good, sir. How old is he? I said, he's 69, sir. So he's going to be there for 2, 3, 4 years. We like people in their 30s, so they're there for 50 years or 40 years. We don't want, and as soon as they said that, I realized, yeah, they're exactly right.
We want people for 20, 30 years. They're not, like, Donald Trump is saying, let's not get.
No, I want to correct that. Not 2030. He said he want them in their 30s so they can be there for 50 years and retire when they're 80. Let's get the timelines right, because he don't want no, you 30, you done when you 60. He wants your ass in there till you're 80 years old, as conservative as possible, and you've been riding this train since you was 38 years old. That's what he wants.
Because really, Donald Trump, like, what they showing is and what conservatives are admitting, like, literally, when Toya say that they saying the quiet part out loud, they're literally admitting that they're trying to use the federal government and the powers that it has access to in our society to shape like what society looks like.
And it can't be. I just want to also, because just in case you listening to this, he's on a platform and the background is at the NRA.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the desires to make long-term commitments and you talking about it in front of audiences like the NRA.
Yeah.
This little gun debate we've been having, that we keep having these same conversations over and over again, and how many is enough and how many shootings is going to be enough. This is everything you need to know, that pick a number.
Now
whatever number you can imagine, it don't matter. One more person can die than any number you can think of, and he's still not finna try to get these gun laws changed in no way, is what that means.
Now look, to you, they had the Trump campaign had a hell of a Freudian slip. in the way of a in the way of like a campaign video that was posted online, where it's certain language that they use to describe what America would look like after a Trump presidency. Let's take a look at how the language they would use to describe what America looks like after Trump wins.
Trump's minions aren't being subtle about the authoritarian plans they have if Trump wins this next election. Case in point, Trump posted a video touting how great a second Trump term would be, ending with MAGA. But in grayscale, underneath it is the headline, "Industrial strength significantly increased, driven by the creation of a unified Reich." Unified yike. That's not a dog whistle, that's a whistle made of dog. Evidently, MAGA now stands for Make America Germany around 1938. A spokesperson for Trump's campaign explained that this was not a campaign video. It was created by a random account online and reposted by a staffer who clearly did not see the word. Yes, they didn't see it. It's a simple case of not see.
Get it? Not see.
Wow. But
yo, the current president, or the current candidate, the leading candidate for the Republican Party for president. Actually, if you go by the polls, the leading candidate in the polls literally has campaign rhetoric associated with Nazism.
where are we?
Campaign. Where are you getting even your templates? Because I know how to make shit like that. Where are you getting your templates from if it's literally Nazi propaganda? Where? So what?
Dog, I mean,
go ahead. I
have never seen anything from the Democrats, and I'm like, let me look closely because there's going to be something in it for Black women. It doesn't say Black women, but they're gonna call out to me. Do you know how twisted as a party you gotta be to be like, I'm gonna place this meticulously in there so that my people, our people, can come in and find? Like, what is this world that we live in? I've never been like, let me look for the gay subtext to see if they like. I don't know.
And niggas and people, not even niggas, people would literally look at you and be like, racism? That's a thing? That's a thing? Like, what are we doing? The last part before we get into our last question. Project 2025.
Okay, put it out there, man.
I was like,
no.
I don't. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. We have to do it. We get on time. Project 2025. Okay. I don't know if y'all ever heard of this. But what you have to understand is that this is supposed to be the agenda, the pro-Trump agenda, or really what they're trying to lay out for the Republican Party going 2025 and beyond. All right, as you can see here, Daily B said we're gonna get the rise of dictator Trump and smaller little generals in the House of Representatives and in the Senate that's gonna enable and push forward this agenda. Now, I can explain it to you. Y'all go read this article by the Daily Beast, but I have something better for y'all. The lovely Jasmine Crockett actually having a conversation with one of the I think the policy one of the policy leaders in Project 2025, and listen to the things that Jasmine Crockett is pointing out that Project 2025 wants to get rid of.
I can't stand this video. If it's the video I'm thinking of, because this is a little smug asshole too.
Oh, he's smug. Yeah, this is the video you're thinking of. This is the video. He's you right. He's smug as hell.
I got to shout out J Universe and Naomi. What's good with y'all? What's going on? Big love to y'all. Got some comments. I was talking about the intelligence of some of these folks real quick. J Universe said, I don't think they're intelligent if they appeal to if they appeal to him, or if he appeals to them rather. And then peace and power back to Naomi. Donnell said maybe him pretending to be some kind of outsider sets him apart, somebody who the system doesn't like, and him placating their cultural instincts, all while being a part of the system they hate so much. And that's a word. a mouthful, and that's what's tea. You're not lying.
Yeah, Donnell be cooking.
Yeah, all the time in these comments. Shout out to all of y'all for talking to us and talking to each other. We always appreciate it. But we got the Jasmine Crockett video up to explain Project 2025 up against the asshole. So yeah, let's hear it.
You're the executive director for the America First Legal, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And America First Legal is a member of Project 2025, which is dedicated to creating the playbook for the next conservative administration and what it calls the Project Pillars, correct?
We are proud contributors to Project 2025.
Okay. And are you familiar with Project 2025's mandate for leadership?
In fact, I am.
Okay. And in fact, you wrote some of the sections of this mandate related to the DOJ, correct?
Sure did.
And the mandate outlines policy priorities for the next conservative president. Is that correct?
It does.
You've done a great job. I just want to let you know. All right, so let's walk through some of the provisions of the mandate. It calls for eliminating the Department of Education, eliminating the Department of Commerce, deploying the military for the use of domestic law enforcement against protesters under the Insurrection Act of 1807. It also has...
Now, this is what's fucked up. That's happening under Joe Biden right now. What Project 2025 is trying to make a project pillar, right? The deployment of militarized police, that's happening under Joe Biden right now. So, ooh.
The repealing of Schedule F status for thousands of federal employees to allow a president to replace career civil servants with unqualified partisan loyalists. That's probably my favorite of it. It also prohibits the FBI from combating the spread of misinformation and disinformation, like Russia and China, who are actively trying to interfere with American elections. I don't know why or how anybody can support Project 2025. And I know that there was allegedly a joke about dictators and whether or not that's funny, but in the United States of America, dictatorships are never funny, and Project 2025 is giving the playbook for authoritarianism as well as the next dictator to come in. And I know that you are doing your jobs here by making sure that hopefully some juror turns on and finds some viral moment of you spewing more of the nonsense as it relates to the president.
Cooking.
No, you here for your 15 minutes, but not today. Not
today.
never.
Not today. So, Project 2025, again, I think the most terrifying aspect of it is being against the fight against misinformation. That's crazy to me.
Absolutely.
And like the fact that you were willing to say that, like, yeah, you know what I'm saying, like like these types of conversations that clearly have no basis in reality should be able to be proliferated to any degree, right? To any impact. That's wild to me, right? So with that being said, and what we know Donald Trump and Republicans are going to try to do when he gets into office, is that enough of a reason to vote for Joe Biden? There's no right answer. There's no right answer. You say
shout out to KJ, man.
Wait, like that. So look. The real question, as we round out the conversation, right? And this is a question to everybody. I want all y'all to chime in and answer this. Is Trump threats of dictator-like behavior and continuing to stack the courts with far-right conservatives enough? We know the impact. We know the lives that have changed because of the type of policy and culture that is introduced to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Is it enough for Joe Biden to be good enough?
What's up, Jaleesa? What's
Okay.
good? Say,
And
good.
Yame said we need Trump to win. That's interesting.
I would like that's a claim. I need a warrant before I can, in good spirit, engage the rest of that stuff. Nayame, please help me understand this logic.
Yeah.
Because then you also say I love this post-racial society, and I don't know if you're being ironic or
Oh
if you're
yeah,
being serious.
I know. In Yame, he definitely being ironic.
Okay,
Definitely being ironic.
Inyame. My bad. If I'm mispronouncing your name. Okay, tell me, talk to us. So talk to us. But I don't know what to do with any of this. I don't know. My spirit is undone because as soon as I think I'm willing to just take one for the team and go ahead and think long term, I also do want to think short term. I do deserve to think in terms of 2026 and 22. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think that I should be able to make decisions that feel affirmative about my existence and my reality 4 years at a time, 8 years at a time, 20 years at a time, based on the decisions that's being made. And I just don't know. I think it's been too much retreat, too many L's, too many, like just the scoreboard is not giving me hope, faith, and optimism. And then just the stuff you say and how you, because it's one thing if you just take political losses, you know what I'm saying? Like if you just like it's a lot of shit against you as one individual, and we don't live in an authoritarian state. We don't live in a dictatorship, whatever. But the shit you say that's just brownie points, that's just feel good politics, that's just shit that makes me feel like I'm on the right side of right, even if nothing is materially changing in my life. I don't get none of that either. So I don't get none of it's not worth none of it to me. And so it's rough because I know for damn sure nothing that Donald Trump will ever say or do aligns with what I like. And then like 27% of what Joe Biden says are things that I can stomach and deal with. So then what? The math is the math, but like, what am I supposed to do with that? What am I supposed to do with that? You trying to take the First Amendment, dog? Like, come on, man. And I work on college campuses. These are my kids. You know what I'm saying? I'm a teacher's teacher. I love the young people. I believe the children are the future. Whitney Houston said it best, and I agree with her. So, like, who knows what we do, right? And I see Plug is going through it with the headphones a little bit, but I guess I want to hear from y'all, you know what I'm saying, in terms of, like, especially if y'all are voters or contemplating voters or whatever, or if y'all just got some commentary on the damn conundrum that potential voters are in, like, what are we supposed to do with this shit? Because it's bad losses. I guess the better question outside of what are we supposed to do with it is, are there any unique and specific benefits to voting one way or another? Right? Are there any unique and specific benefits to being like Joe Biden-ish ass, but what is your but? And if it's a Donald Trump, like we know Donald Trump is full of shit, but like what is your pivot? Because I don't have one. It's not clear to me. I'm struggling with mine.
So yeah, I was having some audio issues. I'm sure you was
got you.
But we actually have a video as we kind of round this out to help kind of not necessarily clean it up for you. You feel me? But kind of give you some like this is the reality that we facing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get that up. And again, we trying to hear we want to hear from the rest of y'all. We want to Donnell, J Universe. Is it enough?
KJ said, I don't know. I'm still traumatized by what I saw in Rafa recently. Right. So when you see that, you know what I'm saying? When the images is top level, when I'm seeing just ain't no healthcare facilities, ain't no get seen. If you get hurt, it's a death wish. It's a death sentence now. They ain't seen hospital care in months. You know what I'm saying? Like, what am I supposed to do with that? Go ahead.
No, I'm getting the video pulled up. And Yame
said, go ahead. Yeah, you can put a video up. It said Trump brings to light. I asked for an explanation about why they said we need Trump to win, and explanation is Trump brings to light what is hidden in the political darkness, and that's facts. What we saw a lot of time around the time when Trump won the first time was a lot of black people in particular, a lot of you know what I'm saying. I won't say apolitical, but not aligned people willing to say like I'm actually happy Trump won because it's gonna make niggas wake up, basically. It's gonna make black people, it's gonna make oppressed people wake up and really get excited and get going when they see in their face. Cause that subtle shit that, oh well, it ain't so bad. You know what I'm saying? The coke and the smile, you know what I'm saying? When you get stabbed in your back and smiled in your face, like we don't know how to push through that and read through that and decode that. We good at when people be real fucked up to you in your face. And so a lot of people's hope was that we would continue to be exposed and be enticed and incited by seeing Trump politics, you know what I'm saying, up close. But
And that's
I don't know.
And that's actually bears out in the numbers too, because as y'all see here, a poll that they recently kind of just broke down on the New York Times explains how majority of Trump, like what gives Trump the lead over Biden, is disengaged voters. And what they mean by disengaged voters is like people who are not tapped in, who they like people who do not like watch news. You know what I'm saying? People who do not sit up there and like go through, like for example, look, attention to news. If they always watching the news, 5% Trump, 89% Biden. If they never watch the news, it's still 69% Biden, but it goes up to 13% for Trump. And so once you have all these different groups that are kind of leaking out of the Democratic Party, so like they say, black men leaving the Democratic Party, or just the black people leaving the Democratic Party, Muslims leaving the Democratic Party, Latino people leaving the Democratic Party. The majority of these groups may still support Joe Biden, but it's literally if all of these groups start giving that little bit of support to Donald Trump, it starts being significant, especially when these races are already close. But
And that's really all it is. It's about shaving off just a little bit, just enough, or at least getting enough to stay home, because enough of them gonna show up. So it ain't even really, it's not about the votes translating into Donald Trump votes. It's about them just not being Joe Biden votes anymore.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's really what the worst part of it is. It's not even like he's stealing votes over here. He just need enough people to stay at the house.
Yeah, so Applied Science on TikTok kind of broke down this question of fault in a way that I could appreciate. So let's check it out.
Top-level Democratic messengers are leaning in on the fact that if Trump wins, he'll get to replace two of the older conservative Supreme Court justices with younger ones, which will basically make a conservative Supreme Court for the rest of our lives and make the chances of us laminating progressive ideologies that we've been working for down to zero. They talk about who will be responsible for this. They're very clear to name people who traditionally vote for Democrats, but are reconsidering because of Biden's handling of Gaza. I don't think I know how to say this in a more articulate way, so I'll just say it how I normally would. Watch your fucking mouth. We live in a representative democracy, and an administration's role in a representative democracy is to govern in ways that make their constituents feel like they are worth voting for. That is your role in a functioning democracy. For fucking once, take accountability about your inability to convince your constituents who are paying attention that you are worth voting for. On the other hand, if you're looking at all that is at stake with us having a majority conservative Supreme Court for the rest of our lives, and allowing Trump, at that point, Trump will have appointed five out of 9 of our Supreme Court justices. And you're not voting for the one candidate that can stop that from happening, stand on that. Don't look for a scapegoat. It's okay. But what we're not gonna do is act like there's no way we could stop this from happening. If you've made that decision, President Biden has called for a ceasefire. He's started the process of pausing shipments of ammunition, but that's not enough, or you don't believe that he's actually gonna do it, or you wanna punish him for past, that's okay. You've weighed your values and you've made your decisions. This is how democracy works, but only if we're honest about it. There is a way that we can avoid having a conservative Supreme Court for the rest of our lives. You're not choosing that option. Listen, we have an enormous responsibility as American voters. Your vote is not only going to affect just one thing domestically or one thing globally, right? This is what being a voter in the most influential, in the richest country in the world is. Being an American voter is big boy basketball, and it's the fourth quarter. We looked people in the face in 2016 and told them that not voting at all was a vote for Trump. We did that. I have not forgotten. And we weren't lying then, and we're not lying now. Everybody is going to have to answer for their decision that they're going to make in November.
Regardless.
Yeah.
This is why I say that the reality, the sad reality of being Americans and participating in American politics is we implicated in all of it regardless.
Nina Turner's favorite thing is, I don't care if you don't do politics, baby. Politics is going to do you. Because politics is going to do you every time.
Every time.
Yeah.
But you have to recognize, and then I'll say this and I'll let you get the last word to you. You have to recognize that when you say, I'm willing to vote for Joe Biden because I don't fuck with Donald Trump, you are supporting the genocide that is taking place in Israel. Offhanded, you may not like it. It may not be something that you're directly saying that I stand for, but you are a part of empowering the individual that is making that genocide possible. And it's been a part of what he cares about since he's been in politics. So it's not even a surprise that Joe Biden is gung-ho Israel. If you choose not to vote because fuck the genocide, the cultural shift that will take place in America is going to have an impact on all of us, especially people of color, the LGBTQ community, women, to every capacity, because they've already been impacted heavily. You know what I'm saying? By decisions made in 2016. So that's just the reality of it. Like there's no way that we can sugarcoat American politics in a way to where we just feel good about the decision that we made, because it's too interconnected, and we dealing with a empire, a colonizer who has maintained that power for quite some time. So go ahead, Toy.
The thing that frustrates me the most is that I think Republicans get a chance to, or conservatives get a chance to pick one issue, or they take the approach. I won't say get the chance, but they take the approach and they pick one issue that's really important to them. And as long as that one issue is really kind of handled and taken care of, they ride, right? If immigration is going to be the thing, if the economy is going to be the thing, if this gay shit is gonna be the thing. If that, like, they pick a thing and they like, as long as we on the up and up with this, I'm gonna tap in. I can look around. I can overlook. I can excuse some of the other bullshit as long as we stay on the page about this thing. Democrats, liberals, dare I say, politically astute leftists, are very much, their approach and strategy is multi-faceted. You got to check a series of boxes. Right. It has to triangulate for me.
You got to adjust to a matrices.
Absolutely. And it's so ironic because I never, matrices is not a word we use every day, the plural of matrix, but now this will be the second time it's popped up in conversation today. So today's a special. I literally used that word a couple hours ago. Yeah. But it's just profoundly unique in the ways and the interest and way people have calculated that. But I think it's just a communal, more everybody approach, because definitely as a Black queer woman who is, I'm 35, I'm no longer even a young adult. I'm just a regular average ass adult.
Whole ass just grown person.
Weird as shit. But I'm just, as that person in the position that I'm in, I do care about and am dead fucking serious about shit that ain't got nothing, air quote, nothing to do with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I do. That is my calculus. That is my framework. It is the way that I make decisions and understand my orientation and what is I value and what's important to me and what's important as extensions of me. And so it's just where the different levels of compassion and compartmentalization that take place and really influence how people make these types of decisions, because that's what it's going to come down to when it's all said and done. Conservatives have to start asking them questions about people outside of themselves. And actually, I won't even say that, because Harrison Butker, for example, demonstrates a form of conservative politics that is worried about everybody but his fucking self and his family and his wife. You don't want these young ladies at this college graduation to go do important shit with their lives. You want them to be housemakers and wives and shit when your mama was an astrophysicist or do whatever the fuck she do. Like, it's just, I'm so confused. I'm so confused about that shit. Yeah. But either way. Yeah. I think a lot of people are going to have to make decisions about how they care, how they love, how they want to build community in the society they want to live in, and what they want to look like that video said 20 years from now. Don't want to miss the comments because Jaleesa's talking to us. Hood Therapy's talking to us. What's good with you, Hood Therapy? Thank you for popping in. Jalisa said 45 might cause a collapse of the empire. Maybe, fingers crossed, right? And so we'll see. But I don't know. I think people too comfortable to really be gung-ho about making shifts like that. Donnell says, I'm completely out of the duopoly, because we were asking like which one, basically, out of these two terrible decisions where we at. They continue. My thinking is if enough of us vote third party, we'll eventually get to a ranked choice banking voting system, which would upend the fuck that cycle we've been in forever. I would hope for that. I think that's a little bit more realistic than the collapse of empire. But I think that would take, decades, multiple voting cycles in the making to really start to kind of galvanize a
huge cultural shift.
Huge. And then even that party, like, I don't know what combination of issues they would, kind of pick and choose to be palatable to enough people to get them to show up in that way. Because you good with the gays, but you're bad with the immigrants. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just like
libertarians, right?
You know what I'm saying? Or like you good with the CRT, but them guns, bitch, like everybody gets one. Like what are we doing?
Right.
So
Or nah, you full blown CRT, but gay marriage.
That's where you lost me, right? What do we do with that? Like, I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
Like, I think it gets kind of weird. Jaleesa continues, reminder the Gaza situation won't change under a Trump. Either way, we'd be complicit 1,000%. Right. And so, like, before you be like, oh, Joe Biden is just the worst, and this is one of the points, Plug, you like to make, is just like, people get incensed about the fact that genocide has happened but that's every single president. That's every single person. Like, from the origins of this country. Like, we're watching it and we're seeing it in prolific ways that we've never been shown these kind of images, or that are just our memories are.
We wasn't tapped in like that though. Genocide,
exactly.
We've been alive for multiple genocides.
Exactly.
It's just that
right.
We wasn't like, you don't have access to information like we got access to information today.
And so this is one of the places where I do sympathize and empathize with the fact that a lot of people who criticize liberal relationships to this shit is just like, stop it, because y'all was not up in arms about the rest of this shit. The shit is inconsistent and we don't believe you. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is how the cake is baked. So if you really got a problem, you would have showed up for this. You would have did this. You would have done it. You know what I'm saying? But you're not doing that. You would have voted for this. And that's not happening. So I am like, it's like watching a debate against, we do as debate coaches and judges. It's like watching a debate against a team you really want to win versus a team that's beating their ass. You just like, oh.
Yeah. Like everything they're saying is like, we talked about that in practice.
You gotta answer that argument.
In practice. What are you doing?
What are you doing? Either that or like, we didn't prep for this and you don't have an answer. And so now what? But I think that's where it gets thick. You know what I'm saying? Is like two different sides of the same coin. In a lot of ways, our ability to really galvanize change in such a multi-level, multi-layered and nuanced political system with our votes is already kind of convoluted and hard to begin with. So where do we go from here? We're going to continue to have, some of these conversations every now and again. Don't forget that there's a presidential debate, I want to say, coming up in 2 weekends. Maybe the weekend of the 8th or the 9th. Someone's telling me June 8th. I could be wrong about that date. But there's a debate. Now, debates are asked. They're shitty. They don't prove anything. They don't demonstrate anything. But they are the type of political theater that, if worth it, we like to unpack and get into, or also talk about why the fuck it wasn't worth it. So any of those things can be on the table. But there's a lot to see. There's a lot to be seen. Whole court case and trial and the implications of that.
I'm definitely going live after that. Like, if Donald Trump get found guilty, it's up. It's up.
Who knows? All we can do is bide the time. We shall see. But there's a lot to come. So stay tuned. But thank y'all for tarrying with us through these types of conversations, because they're just as important as anything else that we talk about, in the sense that regardless, and a lot of people, I want to address this because like we had a guest on, and I forget fam's name, who, took us up on having a debate about these things and about something. But his underlying kind of perception of our conversations and us was that we were kind of dumb or shallow because we willing to entertain the fact, these conversations about politics. We should be having bigger conversations outside of the system and outside of the state, and really talking about the way that Black people can develop, either different forms of nationalism or uprisings or doing this, that, and the other. And that's where our attention should be. And baby, we are multifaceted people. Our attention is there. Our capacity is there. Our interest and love is there. But we also are realists who participate in the world in a way that doesn't just afford us the ability to be so nihilistic that we become detached and uninformed about the way things happen around us. So don't get it confused because you listen to us talk about politics for a week and a half. It's theater, it's pretend, it's fake, it's bullshit, it's a facade, it's not anything we're falling for, but we are in and out of a system that we do need to be in some way participating in, at least knowledgeable about it, having conversations about it. We be fools not to. So never confuse the angle of
the fact that we even talk about the duopoly.
You feel me?
It's based on its existence. Not that we fucking believe in it. Political parties is trash, and we shouldn't have to explain that every time we talk politics. Just
you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And Chop Nation coming here, and we got faith in y'all too, that y'all understand the type of time we on. Shout out to Alexis. Big love to you, showing love from the town, especially. Yep. If I'm not mistaken, that's a Lincoln Tiger we talking to. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But shout out to Alexis for showing love. But don't do that. Don't do that. Because I didn't say anything about your academic institution, Central Eagle. But we got
damn it.
We got the range and receipts to talk the shit that we talk. It's a reason why we talk this politics shit, because it's not going away. You know what I'm saying? So big love to y'all. And y'all may say it best. We can chew gum and walk at the same time. Do a couple cartwheels, twerk if that's what you into. All of that shit.
Y'all may didn't even know that was your catchphrase.
Listen, but that's family time. You know what I'm saying? That's game recognized game, and that's people moving around the world with the same understanding that we are just so prolific and dynamic that ain't nobody falling for the rules of politics and Democrats and Republicans and shit like that. We not dumb. We just talking about what's the cards that's on the table. You know what I'm saying? It's no different than playing a spades hand. Sometimes you got, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you going bored. Sometimes you finna run that shit. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got the Boston. We're gonna talk about both scenarios and everything else in between, because that's the game.
That's
you know what I mean?
Do. And we got the range to do it, while the rest of these niggas that got millions of viewers don't have the range and
you know what I'm saying?
Still be facilitating these conversations. But with that being said, man, y'all enjoy y'all Memorial Day. Hopefully y'all had y'all day off and relax. We appreciate y'all joining us. I'm telling y'all, it's always great when y'all pull up. Make sure y'all hit the like button on the way out. Make sure you subscribed and share if you can. But with that being said,
hey, have a good week.
For sure. You know what I'm saying? For sure. We're going to see y'all next time. This is the Chop Up. Peace.
Peace.
All right, cool.